You've been waiting all week for that Saturday show. Tune in, see what happened, let your troubles go. Work real hard, now it's time to take it slow. Kick back and relax with that Saturday show.
Good morning, Albuquerque, and welcome to That Saturday Show, brought to you by the Albuquerque Center for Peace and Justice. And here are your hosts, Jim Harvey and Chevonne Watson.
Good morning, Albuquerque. Welcome back to That Saturday Show. We are now in week 2 of our show, brought to you by the Albuquerque Center for Peace and Justice. Good morning, Jim Harvey. How are you this
Good morning,
week?
Chevonne. I'm just fine. Just fine, actually.
Good.
Had a really interesting and eventful week.
Oh, tell us all about it.
Well, I went over to Metro Church on Saturday
Mm-hmm.
and had a chance to sit in and listen to some really incredible performers that were singing, that were reading poetry, that were doing all kinds of incredible performances as they gear up for that 30 days of nonviolence.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a chance to pull a group of them into a room and sit them down and have a good, close-quartered conversation with them that I recorded. So it was really, really exciting. And they gave me something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How was yours?
Well, it was great because I was there right with you. I was actually in the interview, and it was a good conversation to have, different perspectives, and it was really nice. And also seeing different local young Black and people of color rappers and artists, it was nice to see them and perform and show their talent to us.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. That's exciting then. I'm glad we all had good weeks.
Yes,
Looking
sure
forward
did.
to even more. So let's go to news clips. So Agent Orange sent his fascist, racist minions to attack the Capitol last week, and I'm sure everybody saw that. And the good news today is that the House of Representatives impeached that crazy guy for the second time. And it looks like this time, if it goes to the Senate is going to convict him this time. I think there are enough people that have had enough of his madness, and he's just got to go, and he's got to pay.
Yes.
It's got to be a penalty.
Right.
So we're excited about that. The other side of it is, I just want to comment very briefly on what I call the two justice systems. So we saw last week where this mob of mostly white people attacked the Capitol, destroyed the building, killed 2 members of the Capitol Police, beat up a lot of other people, just tore things apart, and hardly faced any consequences. And when I look back on the Black Lives Matter march that happened in Washington, D.C. last year, back in July, it was a different response altogether. Soldiers were 6 deep on the Capitol steps, and if you looked like you were going to sneeze wrong, they were ready to either shoot you or arrest you. And so we face that. And so in the future, I think I'd like to just have some discussions around the two justice systems.
Absolutely.
And what's going on there, and how we as people of color, even here in New Mexico, in Albuquerque in particular, right here, we look at a very different kind of response when we're out protesting, or a very different kind of response when we're just walking down the street.
Very different.
So in the future, let's get into that.
We need to
talk about it.
It's really important.
Okay. So yeah, two justice systems, and let's see what's going to happen in the future. And I just want to warn everybody here in Albuquerque in particular that in the coming days, the coming weeks, these Trump supporters may get very, very violent close to home.
Right.
So be careful. Let's stay away from anything that looks like a dust up, like a demonstration is happening, and let's everybody just keep themselves safe. Okay?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so let's go on to the bulletin board now. And there's a lot of exciting things that are happening on the bulletin board. Tuesday, January 19th, is the National Day of Racial Healing. There you go.
Oh.
This virtual Zoom starts at 1 p.m. Healing is at the heart of racial equity. Many people would like to talk about the impact of racism and the need for racial healing, but they don't know where to start. With this day, the goal is to bridge divides, affirm our common humanity, and together create more just and equitable communities. The host is going to be Baratunde Thurston and features John Legend as well as others. Many Albuquerque museum events continue to be authored online. Download a different art project each week from Albuquerque Museum. Family art from home is for all ages, even mine. You and your family can enjoy new projects each week. Try your hand working with a variety of art mediums that you have available at home. These are child and grown-up friendly. Many projects are available, including making a woodland mobile, a tree of life collage, clothespin creatures. God, I remember those from when I was a kid. People are still doing that. That's great. And a star book. And finally, Loris Phillips will be presenting crane music, an exhibit of her paintings and sandhill cranes in the West Gallery of the Open Space Visitors Center. Check it out. Those are our bulletin board announcements for this week.
Exciting.
All right. So, Chevonne?
Yes, sir. And now we have time for the good news with our own Hassani. Hassani, what do we have for today?
Welcome to Good News News. I'm your correspondent, Hassani Olujimi, and I'm Gugu for Good News. The purpose of this segment is to inspire and uplift you, the viewer, with nothing but good news. So let's jump right in, okay? Two young brothers are working together to help those impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. 8-year-old Tredanis Thornton and his young brother Noah are business partners guided by their parents. Tredanis is a CEO of T&N Bow Ties and Apparel. Tredanis, who started his company at the age of 5, rakes in $50,000 in annual sales and hopes to expand his business and open his first storefront. The brothers are using their business to help those in the community struggling during the public health crises. Giving back is a part of the boys' business. After hosting several food drives and toy drives for needy families, Tredanis told CBS News one of his business mottos is, "If someone shakes your hand, you shake it firmly." Of course, that was before COVID-19. Now, isn't that good news? Our next story sure was a hot topic. Recently, an electrical fire sparked at the W Underdogs facility in Atlanta, Georgia. The rescue team, they teach at-risk youth responsibility and compassion by rescuing homeless cats and dogs. Keith Walker, 53, has been homeless since he was 13, and the nonprofit, they shelter his dog for him once in a while. Well, when Mr. Walker was going to the shelter, he noticed that the shelter was on fire. He urged another homeless man named Mike to call 911. Walker rushed in and started pulling out animals fast as he could. He saved every single one of them. They are all perfectly fine. His actions, they are incredibly brave, and he is a true hero. He's like an angel watching over the W Underdogs. Now, isn't that good news? I'm glad Mr. Walker was able to keep a cool head and to keep himself together, unlike this next story. A group of lumber yard workers were surprised when they arrived to work early one morning. They noticed a glimmer of metal on top of the pile. Upon closer inspection, they noticed that it was a prosthetic leg. Police later learned that the leg was worth $15,000. And how did it end up there? They were stunned and baffled. Well, it seemed like the leg had just fallen out of the sky. You guessed it, it did. 10,000 feet. The leg belonged to Dion Galloway. The skydiving enthusiast, he had just jumped out of a plane when his leg came off. Nothing will stop this young man, nor his passion, for it was a skydiving accident that took his original leg the first time. After almost losing his leg the second time, he says he's even more excited to get back to skydiving. Now, isn't that good news? Now, let's dive right into our next story. No pun intended. An elderly woman's telephone misdial turned into a heartwarming surprise after she left a voicemail at a local attorney's office instead of the medical supply store she was trying to reach. Miss Bernice from Albuquerque, New Mexico. She tried several times to call the store so she could order a new walker. She kept typing the wrong last digit in the phone number, and she kept leaving a message for the Bernalillo County District Attorney's Office instead. When someone from the office called her back to set the record straight, Miss Bernice simply said she was trying to get in contact with someone with a walker. The office staff pulled their money together and bought Miss Bernice a walker, and they delivered it to her. Nothing but love, hugs, and compassion. Now, isn't that good news? Well, in the spirit of giving, our next story is a perfect example of just that. The social media giant TikTok has announced that it will donate $1 million to 10 historically Black colleges to assist underrepresented students. The funds will support scholarships for students in medicine, public health, and other health fields. A few of the HBCUs included are North Carolina Central State, South Carolina State University, University of South Dakota, and Delaware State University. Now, isn't that good news? Now, our last story, sadly, includes a police warning. Recently, there was a cement truck and a bus carrying prisoners. They ran into each other. The police put out a warning to all the citizens to be on the lookout for hardened criminals. That's funny news. We here at Good News News strongly believe the best way to turn a frown upside down is to get goo-goo for good news. I'm your correspondent, Hassani Olujimi. Get goo-goo for good news. See you next time.
Thank you so much, Hassani, for the good news. And Jim, it looks like you have a very powerful interview for us today. Let's get into it.
That's right, Chevonne. We're talking today with some leaders and activists from the International District, that often maligned neighborhood that few really know about, but everybody has an opinion about. Let's go right to that interview.
All right. Thanks so much, Chevonne. We're talking today about the International District. You hear about it, you visit it, you read about it, you might even live there. Good things are happening in the International District, and there's still many things that can be done to make things better, but does not apply everywhere. Today we have three incredible guests to talk about the International District, and I'm just going to go to them and let them introduce themselves. Marilyn, welcome to That Saturday Show.
Thank you for having me. I'm Marilyn Smith. I've been here in New Mexico for 14 years. I came from Chicago, so I'll be with that. I am the Vice President of the Tuskegee Airmen chapter here in New Mexico and Albuquerque, and I am a 20-year veteran of the Navy.
Great. Welcome to That Saturday Show. And we have to talk
Thank you.
about Chicago sometime.
Yeah, we will.
We have to do that. Okay. Tony,
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing?
we're doing just great. Talk to us, Tony. Tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing over there.
All right, Jim. First of all, thank you for the invitation. Not only is it an honor, it's a privilege, to serve with you. I'm Tony Johnson. I'm a community advocate in the International District. I have been one for the last 9 years. I have been running watchdog programs in Wilson and Whittier Middle School and elementary school. I serve on the District 6 Parks and Recreation Commission. And I'm also right now helping out with the Violence Intervention Program, which we call the VIP. And we have some more programs that we want to start in the community to help our youth in there in this underserved area, which we're going to kick off another program called HIT. It's called Helping Inner City Teens, trying to accomplish something. It's been a challenge there, but we're up for the task with it. And I really want to thank you for inviting me to your show.
I'm glad you're here, and we're going to talk more about that in a little while. But last and certainly not least, is our real warrior, somebody who's really doing good things over there every day on the streets, and that's my good buddy Angel Garcia. Angel, welcome to That Saturday Show.
Thanks for that those kind words, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here with Tony, Miss Marilyn, and of course with you, Jim. So my name is Angel Garcia, and I work for the Violence Intervention Program for the city of Albuquerque. And the International District has a special place in my heart that I really want to help, because it really reminds me from where I came. I grew up in Los Angeles, and I was always running around South Central, Compton, Watts, and that's the type of vibe that I get from the International District, and also like those places, it's very, very ignored, and it seems like crime and violence is normalized there, like a way of life, and that's something I would like to try to help and change.
That's great. That's good to hear. I'm glad to know that things are happening over there, and it just leads me to my first question, and that is, the International District is a part of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and it's a multicultural community. There's so many different ethnicities and nationalities that are represented there. And I just, want to ask you guys, just where do you see the relationships building, or the potential for building inter-community relationships with people in the International District?
Tony.
Well, Mr. Harvey, when we talk about the International District, we're talking about the highest poverty area in Bernalillo County. And the 10 years that I've been there, this area has been so neglected. But the good thing about it, we got so many people out there that got hope, that wants to see something happen in that community. There has been previous programs that has, been established out there, but they never got off the ground. That's why I'm hoping this VIP program and the HIT and everything else get off the ground. I think the great thing now is that we're spending $90 million to remodel Wilson Park. And that's in the city of it. That's right around the Wilson Middle School area. And we hope that would enhance and encourage people to come back out, come back out into the street and make something of their communities. And they understand right now that, we can't achieve anything if they don't get involved. And that's why we're trying to motivate people. But I guess they have been let down so many times that they had lost some kind of motivation. But when I told them about us coming back in there and we're going to try this, that, brought a little joy, and, into them. So they're just waiting for us to get there and implement something in the community, and they're willing to jump on board with it.
I think that homegrown response really makes a big difference when you've got people that are talking about building from the ground up.
And in my current efforts, I'm conducting community readiness surveys in the international district with people that live there and people that offer services there, just so that we could identify service gaps and pretty much the overall. I don't I don't have the whole data yet because we're still in the process of conducting the surveys, but like one of the questions is who would a person in the international district call first who's been affected by gun violence? And we are going to put together a report, and then after the report from the community readiness survey, we're going to have an action plan. Um, so I don't have the data yet, but we are trying to identify service gaps and how pretty much the overall vibe of the community and try to see how we can change that. And also, me personally, um, I'm also a member of LULAC, so I've talked to them about helping me come up with a proposal for a program starting in the elementary level. I really like the HIT program that Mr. Johnson has been a part of, but I believe that we have to start even earlier because once they get to junior high and especially high school, their minds are already kind of made up. Um, so I want to start a program to where starting in elementary, we could call it baby APD, and then junior high, junior APD, high school APD explorers. And I want to teach these kids about underlying root causes, and then eventually have them graduate the academy and then go police their own community. Because if they're stopping people that they went to school with, they're going to be a lot more empathetic growing up in that community than somebody else that had comes from outside the community with all their biases and prejudices. You know what I mean? But that's just one idea floating around in my head. Um, yeah,
That's pretty powerful stuff there. So the International District has had a long history, and I think earlier, Angel, you referred to the challenge of normalizing violence, as a way of life, and I know that's a problem all by itself, and
yeah.
overcoming that, is has got to be just high on the list of priorities there. But Marilyn, you had an experience that set you on a path to trying to do everything you could to make some changes over there. You want to talk about that 2010 experience you had?
Yes. As some people know that might be listening, I came here in 2007 from Chicago. And, coming from Chicago to here to New Mexico it was like, boy, I didn't believe how quiet it was here and different things. I came here and I transferred to MCOR Corporation, in which, if people would know, that's the first shooting that they had, multiple shooting that they had here in the New Mexico Albuquerque area. Um, and I actually got to see a couple of shot dead and the man's girlfriend. And he also shot himself. This opened up my eyes to a lot of things you hear it every day, not just once, in a month or something, but you hear every day where somebody's losing life and they don't get to get up the next morning. They don't get to see their families. They don't get to get their special, don't get to see their special things. But it is something that opened up my eyes to see this happen and to be involved. We did all get to go to doctors and everything to talk about it and everything, but it's something I've been all over the world with the Navy and never got to see anything just like it's friends, it's people that you're close to. You've heard about different things over there, and but this was just something that was very close. So I joined and I said that I was spared because it was so close to me. I mean, I was at a window where I actually got to see him shoot his girlfriend. And if it wasn't for that window and if it wasn't for a file cabinet that was in front of that window, right today, you all would not be talking to me.
Oh,
And
wow.
one of the ladies that I was talking to in her cube at that time, if I hadn't have snatched her down, which today, and that's I understand people when they're talking about PTSD. If I hadn't have pulled her down when everybody said get down, if she had have stood up from her chair, she'd have got shot in the head because they said the next day they found the bullet inside lodged in her cubicle thing up there. So, and she came to me the next day after where they let us get back to work. Um, she came to me and she said, "Oh my God, thank you, thank you." And I didn't know what she was talking about. And she showed me her arm. Actually, she showed me her arm where I had grabbed her, and it was all black and blue.
Mm.
And instinct from being in the military too. You know, you save your fellow person. But like I said, you know, I want to start this at the beginning, not where it's like this. You know, and as the stories go, that people after a while got to saying, well, I knew about this and I knew about him and I wish I had have said something. People need to start talking and saying they, even if they feel like they're going to get in trouble, there's somebody out there that can help you. And I feel like with this, the VIP and other programs that we can do, that we can help each other. And it's continuous. It's not going to be tomorrow, which like this is 2010 and you're seeing things are still happening. But if people come out like we do and try to help each other, it can be done. It can be done.
It's so incredible how life's experiences can set you on a path to do some other things. When you get spared and you get that message that you've been spared because there's something bigger and more important for you to do, you know, you don't ask questions, you just go on and you do it.
That's
And
right.
and Marilyn, we appreciate you for that. We really do.
We have the, I want to just interject, we have the um, two camps that we have. The chapter here, the Tuskegee Airmen chapter, in which we have two camps. We have aviation and space camps, in which we take kids from 12 to 18 and show them their different paths in life besides just being out there in the street. And we take them all over. We take them down to NASA and to White Sands and everything up to the tower, and it's just amazing. And we've gone through almost 200 kids in the since 2009 I think we started, and it's just growing and growing, and it's just so proud to see some of the kids that we had to have their parents shove them in the door, and when it was time to be over, we had to shove them out the door. So this
Oh yeah.
yeah, this is something, if you show them some kind of way that there is something else you can do, they're willing to do it.
Yeah.
So the international district, you've got people there from practically all the corners of the world. I know that on one occasion I ran into a family that was from Tanzania that spoke Swahili and hardly spoke any English at all, and they're living in the international district. I ran into a family over there that was from Kenya, and they hardly spoke any English at all. I ran into a family over there that just nothing but undocumented folks from Central America, and they're living in the international district. And then you've got your everyday folks who are just struggling to try to make it. And they rely on the important and incredible services that exist. And so, Tony, I'd like you to talk a little bit more about that, how you respond to the wide range of needs and challenges over there on a day-to-day basis.
Well, you hit the button right there when you said challenge. Because it's a challenge. It is a challenge over there because you want to try to adapt to everybody else. And just like some of the nationalities that you just mentioned, we also got people from India, Spain, we got New Zealand. We got people from, like you just said, all walks of life. And it's just, you just try to get them to adapt to what you're doing. But the main thing what we try to do is we try to invite them in and let them have input on what it is they would like to see in their community. And then, and try to make them some kind of leader or something like that and get involved, make suggestions, and then we'll take it to the elected officials. But you just got a variety of it. It's like Marilyn was talking about, about the military. being there and seeing all these different variety of people there, it seemed like I was in the military. Because when we first went in the military, you got people from every walk of life, from different culture, everything else. Uh, it is a challenge, especially to adapt. Okay, let's talk about the Philippines. I forgot about them. They're up in there, and we got a lot of refugee families that's in that area that we want to try to implement into whatever programs we got because we want to serve everyone, not just this group over here, but everyone that's out there, and that's why we try to motivate and get people involved. And I don't know if anybody know about Next Door. That's an app that we have out there in the International District, and they got it throughout the city, I believe. But I correspond with a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life who wants to get involved. Tony, when are we going to do this? Tony, can we do this? Tony, and I go out and meet with them. And then the first thing I ask them, how do you want to get involved? How do you want to make it effective? Because I'm going to need your partake in this part if we're going to take it and try to achieve it. And they'd be glad. I just got what? I think about 5 this morning. You heard anything about policing? You heard anything about what we're going to do about this? What we're going to do about the park? Okay. Let's see when we get ready to get it over, and we're going to train people and we're going to get you involved.
That's fantastic.
As long as you can get them involved in something, or let them, matter of fact, the best way to say it, have them sit at the table with you when you're making decisions on what to do in the community. Then you got them involved.
That's so important, Tony. I'm glad to hear you say that. Yeah.
You got to have them at the table.
Got to have them at the table. Otherwise you feel like it's not yours. It's not mine. I wasn't involved in it from the beginning, so why should I pay attention to it? Yeah.
Jim, we do have a lot of that going on in the community because it's a lack of communication either from the city or from these local groups that say, "Well, I ain't knew nothing about it. Ain't nobody told us about it." I didn't, that's what I say. You don't want to go on to a meeting and sit in the room, make room at the table and get up there at the table so you can get involved and you can lay down what you want to talk about. But we have a lot of that issue right now about communication in not only in the international district but throughout the city.
I have a good friend that likes to say, if you're not sitting at the table, then you're on the menu. We want to make room for everybody.
You're so right about that, Angel. We used to have a saying, cut us in or cut it out.
Jim, can I reply to something Angel was talking about a while ago about starting?
Sure, did. Sure.
That's why I left Wilson Middle School. But I still stay in touch and still help them out. I went to elementary school. Because I've seen some of these kids that come up to Wilson that didn't have any structure, discipline, or anything else. So that's why I went down and tried to start at an early age. But then again, when you come down there and you see some of these second and third graders and the things that they're going through. So if we're going to do any change, with the kids, we got to realize that we got to also do some changing with the parents. Because these kids come around and stuff with no structure, discipline, they don't have anything. And we got to start the whole thing. The whole bottom line is we can't just work with the kids. We're going to have to work with the whole entire family. That's the only way we're going to achieve something out there.
I think that's good to hear. That's so good to hear. Good to hear. So Angel, so Angel, it's down to you going forward. What are we looking at in terms of programs and responses and activities in the International District?
So for me, the important thing is going to be, and I've been reaching out to a lot of providers out there, East Central Ministries, Francis House, Juntos, a bunch of programs. And the thing is, collaboration is key. I understand that we are different service providers offer different things, but if like Mr. Johnson was saying, communication is very important because if my program has never talked to your program and this dude is asking me for this service that I don't provide, but you do, then I would know where to send them, and then we could better serve the community, better serve the people. So that's another thing that I'm trying to undertake right now. I'm trying to bring everybody together in a more communicative way, in a more collaborative way, so that we could understand. Yeah, it's ultimately the goal is serving the people, helping the people. So the best way we could do that is if we all get together and do it as one, you know. And I have another quote, and this one is from Dr. King, Martin Luther King, and it's my favorite quote of all because it makes a lot of sense. And the quote is, "If we don't learn how to live together as brothers and sisters, then we're gonna perish together as fools," you know.
Mm.
And that's a powerful statement right there. So I think there's like somewhere between 28 and 40 different languages that are spoken in the international district. You know, I have two of them covered, but maybe getting together with other people that could help us out with the rest. You know, UNM has translators and all that. The thing is just extending that table so that everybody could come and sit. You know.
Mm.
That's such an important piece to put out there. So you've got two of those languages covered. You're all right. You've got 38 to go. You can make it. You can make it. Yeah. And with Tony Johnson's help and Marilyn Smith's help, I know we'll be able to bring everything together. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. We don't want to ignore communities where people live. People struggle every day. People have ambitions and people have needs. And so, I just commend you all for the work that you're doing there. I'm glad to be able to tinker around the edges and make, whatever humble contributions I can make as well. But, we look forward to things getting better in the International District, and it's
And,
going to be because of you.
and if I could add one more thing, Jim,
You sure can.
I know in the past it's always been like, oh, well, the city, we're gonna send this team over there and they're gonna fix everything for you guys, but then nothing gets fixed, you know. The way we're approaching this is like Mr. Johnson said earlier, and I want to highlight that we want anybody and everybody from the community to come and help us with this. We want this to be community driven. So sometime this year, once COVID eases up, we're gonna start having town halls. I'm gonna start hitting neighborhood association meetings. You know, so I implore everyone, if you want to get involved, reach out to Mr. Johnson, the contact person right there in the international district. No, but I'm just kidding right there. But reach out to us. Reach out to us. Our information is out there. Just get involved. We want this to be a community success.
I
And
just figured say,
for it to be that success, we really need to try to get community policing out there. That's
right.
a that's one of the biggest things that's missing out there in that community is community
Yeah.
policing. Because if they started seeing police, walking the streets or in the area more often, that would even bring people out, make people get involved. But with the
Yeah.
lack of that, and then you got so much gun violence, drugs, and everything else going on, yeah, it's always going to be the same. So we're going to look at our elected officials and try to get them to try to start bringing the police out there. Just the police need to come get involved with the community. That's
And
what they
then
really need to do. Get
another thing
involved.
that I'm going to touch on this year is, and this is part of that normalizing the violence. You know, people see things, but they won't say anything because at the end of the day, they still have to live there. So another thing that I'm bringing up is that there's no incentive for people to speak up. You know, the APD has that Crime Stoppers, and they're always encouraging people to, if they know something, to say it. What's the incentive? If those people still have to live there and get harassed after they help, then that's another thing that I'm bringing up. You know, because that's important too. The people have
Uh,
to feel safe.
Yeah.
we've got about a minute and a half left, and I just wanted to just do a round robin here and see if any of you had any parting thoughts that you want to leave with us.
Well,
Marilyn?
mine is the main thing is that, like they said, community policing, community coming out and helping out because we can't do it by ourselves. You know, we try and we don't know exactly what's happening behind the doors in which somebody could come out and let us know. So if you have any ideas, community, please come out.
There you go.
Yep.
Tony?
And
The best thing I can just tell, people from here, let's walk by faith, not by sight. There's better days ahead. Just continue to keep hope. Change is on its way.
All right.
Yep.
Angel.
and I know this might sound corny or cliche, but hey, teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right.
Let's do this together.
I love that. I love that. Well, great. I just want to just throw one more ringer in there, and that is dealing with absentee landlords
Yeah.
and what we have to come together to do to improve the standard of living of people, because that's inexcusable as well. Landlords living out of state, living in other parts of the state, and just bleeding the property dry and doing nothing to offer people a decent standard of living. So that, I just want to put that one on the table as we go forward, and how we can find a way to begin to deal with absentee landlords. When you live in decent surroundings, you feel better about yourself, you feel better about your neighborhood. And that, I think, is key to a lot of what ails a lot of us. So I encourage you all to keep doing what you're doing. And maybe we'll come back and pick this discussion up again someplace in the near future. But I commend you, and thanks for taking the time to come on That Saturday Show and share a little bit about the International District.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks so much. Thank you. And Chevonne, back to you now.
Say thanks. Just say thanks.
Thank you so much.
Such a critical discussion, such an incredibly critical discussion, and I'm sure we can all find ways to contribute to strengthening our communities, to allow our family and friends and neighbors to thrive. Stay tuned. Good things are happening in the International District. Now, let's take a look. We've got some beautiful artwork we just want to get you excited about. We'll just give you a quick glimpse here of art that is hanging now at the Center for Peace and Justice. It's all done by an incredible young man who's self-taught. His name is Jeff Drakes, and in the coming weeks we're going to have him on for an interview. But we just wanted you to get a good glimpse at some of the work. The color that he chooses is just so amazing. It's really, really good stuff. We're going to close today with another look at Peace and Justice Center history. We want you to know everything you possibly can about the Albuquerque Center for Peace and Justice. So here we go. More history about P&J.
Okay, we all ready? Yes, a few logistics for those people that don't know. The center was founded in October 1983 and established as a Center for Peace. And it had an office at 3211 Silver Southeast, which I believe was the La Montanita building. In June 1983, we were incorporated as a nonprofit organization under the name the Action for Nuclear Disarmament. That name was later changed to the Peace and Justice Education Project. Then in fall of 1987, the center moved to 144 Harvard and rented offices there, and it was called the Albuquerque Center for Peace and Justice. And in April 2002, we were able to purchase and move into the old Baha'i building at 202 Harvard. Our founding members were Dora Lynn, for those who don't know her name, Bunting, known as Dory, Kent Zook, and the late Blanche Fitzpatrick, and later on joined by Lee Sims and others. The center is run by a coordinating committee, all volunteer, and also many, many volunteers and whatever staff we can afford at the time. And some of the past staff have been either called directors or coordinators, always different names. Blanche Fitzpatrick, Robin Seidel, Connie Adler, Marie Nord, and Judith Kidd, who was also a treasurer for a long time. And later, after I joined, and you guys, along comes Maria Tantelli, Cecilia Chavez Beltran, Mary Nakeegan, Sue Sherman, Martha Emberg, and some interim coordinators coming to now our new director, Jim Harvey, who's like a brush of fresh air. So that's a little overview. Do you want me to go into when I started and came on with Pajola and that brought Maria in? Okay. I retired from the Albert Schweitzer Center back east in 1997, the end of 1997. I believe Maria was here the year before, right? And was the Thursday morning volunteer now for 22 years, and also on the CC for 11 years. And one of the first projects I was involved with, of course, you know, if anybody has tried to raise money for nonprofits, that one of the hardest things is to get money for salaries and the day-to-day expenses. And by then, Maria, I don't know how long she had been working here, but it was all volunteer. So we were wanting to come up with a little bit of money to pay her. And I came across a grant from Resist, and they were wanting, though, to have an organization that involved an awful lot of different organizations or small groups. So that I wrote the grant according to how they wanted things and came up with Pajola, Peace and Justice Organizations Linking Arms, which the CC at the time gave me a lot of flack for. But actually, Maria was the one who took that and then let it go, went on with it. And now, Maria, I don't know if you know, but we now have 55 members of Pajola. It changes every day. So there we are. It brings us to Maria and a little later, Cecilia.
Yeah. So, yeah, Franz, I remember those days. Oh my gosh. And then, gosh, so that was the late 90s though. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of fast forwarding a little bit. I also worked with CARD. You know, that was kind of how I got involved in the Peace Center, was that I was volunteering and doing some different kinds of organizing work with CARD, Citizens for Alternatives.
And what does CARD stand for?
Citizens for Alternatives to Radioactive Dumping. And I would come into the Peace Center, and I had just graduated college, and I would, you know, I wanted to, you know, be part of the revolution, and I would come into the Peace Center and I would see who was really leading the revolution, and it was all these little gray-haired ladies, our little gray-haired ladies. And there they were, and they were doing the work of revolution right there at 144 Harvard. And so we got Pajola together, and you know that broadened the coalition, the umbrella under which different, you know, social justice organizations were working in Albuquerque. And then kind of fast forwarding a little bit, really to when things got rolling, I think was with, you know, when George W. Bush became president in 2000, and then of course the invasion of Afghanistan, and then the invasion of Iraq. And you know, we were just sort of hanging out all the time at the Peace Center trying to, you know, stop all these egregious offenses by our country. And the Peace Center was just there. It was amazing. Like, it was really quiet for all those years in the late 90s. I mean, we were fighting WIP, you know, the waste isolation pilot plant. And then when that opened in 99, it was very disheartening. But there was, you know, it was just like steadfast and just there. The Peace Center was just steadfast and just there, just plugging along and fighting the nuclear weapons industry in New Mexico, and fighting nuclear waste dumping in New Mexico. And then all of a sudden, you know, this great national tragedy happens with, you know, George W. Bush, and then of course 9/11, and then, you know, the invasion of Afghanistan, and then the drumbeats for invading Iraq. And but somehow everyone just knew. The community just knew that the Peace Center was there, and they knew where to go, you know, when they needed to organize, and when they needed to have a place to be with other people who were, you know, thinking the same things that they were thinking. And all of a sudden the Peace Center meetings started to swell and the calendar started to fill up. And I was in there one day doing something in the card office, or, for some reason, just hanging out in the Peace Center when the coordinating committee meeting was happening. And I would put this maybe somewhere around 2002 or so, or very early 2003. And they were talking about, no, it must have been late 2002. And they were talking about, we were losing our lease. The Peace Center was losing its lease because Harvard Avenue there was redeveloping. As we know, it's redeveloped over these years, and they were losing the lease. And somehow the Baha'i church across the street at 202 got wind that we were going to lose our building. And they came over and they said, we want you guys to have this building. And I was there and the coordinating council was meeting, and I felt like I should get out of here. This is private. I can't be hearing this. This is none of my business. And somebody, I don't know who, one of the ladies, waved me over and said, come here, sit down, be part of this. And so I was, and then I don't remember, Cecilia, exactly, but there was some point when you were there too, and I think I did the same thing to you, and I was like, come here, sit down. And we just started to do the work of helping the Peace Center move. And of course, we can't forget the day that we opened the new building. We had the blessing of the new building just a few days after the invasion of Iraq. Iraq was March 20th, and we did the blessing of our building on the 22nd, with cops surrounding the building, and we had this beautiful opening of that building, and prayers and dancing and music, and it was just an amazing, beautiful, incredible time for our community. Sally Alice Thompson, as everyone knows, came forward at first anonymously and put up the money for the building, and then we sold those tiles. If everyone doesn't know the story of those beautiful tiles in the front of the building, and Cecilia and I and others thought, we don't want people to be celebrated because they have money. We don't want to just put people's names on the building just because they have enough money to buy a tile for $1,000. And so we encouraged people to come and have a community project and actually make those tiles and put not just your an exhibition of your wealth, but what you hope for the future, and what you believe in, and what you're working for, and in memory. We have some of the tiles, of course, as you know, that are in memory of people. I'll turn it over to Cecilia now to kind of pick up around that time. What do you remember?
What I remember is the first time I went into the Peace Center when it was at 144, it was in 1998, when CARD was full swing, and I started volunteering with them too. Remember that we would be communicating, and I would be faxing you some translations of a speech that you were going to be giving somewhere
in Mexico. We were on the highway faxing at the hotel in Yuma.
Right. So that was 1998, and there was a lot of things going on in that building, for sure. All sorts of human rights, animal rights, the planet, different countries. I mean, all sorts of things. So many people in there, and I couldn't understand what was going on in there because there was so much information around. And so I started to just concentrating on volunteering there with CARD, but that definitely opened all the doors and windows possible to make connections with all sorts of people, very passionate. Everybody was just so passionate about what they were working on, and so welcoming to whomever came through those doors saying, I want to do something. And they would be invited, and there were projects left and right, and some were bigger than others. There were so many opportunities to take action. And it was really beautiful to see all those white-haired ladies there giving their input and their wise words. And then, as you say, move forward 2003, when the police rioted, right? The riot. And all the people in the community came into the building seeking comfort and something to do and a way to help and volunteer. because the situation was such that we all needed to be doing something for good, right? To counteract all the evil that was happening. And that was beautiful. And then, yes, I totally remember that meeting that you say. I was just coming back from being in Mexico visiting, and I arrived into that meeting, and somebody offered me a plate of food. There's always food at the meetings. And then all of a sudden, we got like basically pulled in, and yeah, we just like immersed ourselves in the transition into the new building. That was very, very powerful. I love that.
And the history goes on at the Peace and Justice Center. Chevonne, another week.
Another week. Well, thank you so much for watching. Please, I'm sorry. Can we redo it?
Go ahead.
Well, thank you so much for watching. Please tune in next week, and you can always follow us at www.abqpeaceandjustice.org. Until next time, peace.
Until the next time, it's time to say goodbye. When you out here in the streets, keep it real, 505. We love everybody, we just want to let you know. Thanks for tuning in to that Saturday show.